Boston wrestling sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE NXT and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, it is that time of night again. It is Thursday night at 9 p.m. Spread the word near, spread it far. Spread it across your social media channels. Share the link on Reddit, on Facebook, on Twitter. Let popular wrestling websites know. Any way we can get more eyeballs and ears on what we're doing, because we have a big night. It is Thursday, so it is a creature double feature. We have many creatures that come in and out of this studio. That's a different story for a different time. Right now, we're going to be reviewing the Wednesday, February the 10th, 2021 editions of WWE NXT and AEW. For your viewing pleasure, at 10 o'clock, we're going to be joined by future WWE Hall of Famer Marty Jannetty for the sex, drugs, and rock and roll story that is his life as he relives the 80s and 90s. That is on the heels of what was a well-received episode last night with the Native American Tatanka making his return to Wrestling Insiders. If you missed that, maybe a little later on tonight after you listen to myself and Dave Carter pontificate about AEW and NXT, and then listen to Marty's crazy stories about promotional sabotage in 1989, the city of Houston, Texas, Roddy Piper's advice to the Rockers, Nails attacking Vince McMahon, Lanny Poffo morphing into the genius, not morphing into himself, and so much more. It is a much highly watchable episode, if I do say so myself. Don't forget, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, after the lights in the Thunderdome go dim, the light on his head lights up. It's John Cena Sr. with Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Friday. Much like Tony Atlas earlier this week, Mr. Cena shoots on The Undertaker's WWE comments on the Joe Rogan podcast, as well as Goldberg and Mick Foley's thoughts on it. A Saturday night at 10 p.m. after our SmackDown review program, we have our supersized Wrestling Insiders Week in Review. Instead of the podcast-style intros, I'm going to have a co-host in studio. This week it'll be Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, as we air all four of this week's Wrestling Insider studio shoot interviews with Tony, Tatanka, Marty, and Cena Sr. in one big episode. We know it's tough for you to tune in each and every night to every show, so for those that really like the studio shoots, we create a little, again, one-stop shopping. Sunday night will be L-I-V-E live for NXT TakeOver. What a way to spend a Valentine's Day. Who needs a loved one when you can share your love of professional wrestling with us here at Boston Wrestling? I know Dave is going to power down all three of his cell phones to keep all of these apps quiet. Cecil the Lion is trying to get on these apps now. I believe he's Tindering. With not much success thus far. I don't know if it's because he's discussing these LAN parties on the apps. That's a different story for a different time. Cecil is planning a mega LAN party for later in February. Patreon subscribers, streamers, family members, as we like to call you, you're going to get an exclusive bonus episode with Marty Jannetty on Valentine's Day, which is, I'm sure, going to be a very interesting experience. Then again, next week, don't forget, if you're keeping track on the calendar, Tony is back with a brand new Wrestling Insiders at your house at 10 p.m. Then on Wednesday night, after NXT and AEW Dynamite, it's Wrestling Insider Special Edition at 10 p.m. with the return of the veteran, Savio Vega. If you're a fan of the live episodes, much like takeovers, watch along this Sunday night. Keeping track, mark it down on the calendar. Friday, February the 19th during SmackDown, we'll be joined by Marty Jannetty, and we'll also have a Elimination Chamber watch-along. Sunday, February the 21st, pay-per-view watch-along parties are almost non-existent during coronavirus time. Even before coronavirus, popularity is tanked so much in the world of wrestling that there weren't many watch-along parties like it. So join us when we go live. We have a lot of fun. We reminisce, we laugh, we bullshit, and all that good stuff. That doesn't even include our Saturday, Sunday, and Monday afternoon flashback videos at 2 p.m., our WWE and AEW TV review podcast-style episodes Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays at 9, and our daily 10 a.m. WWE history videos where we look back at results of live events from yesteryear, primarily in the 80s and 90s, as that's the theme of most of our talk shows. We haven't really given away all the scoops yet. Our Patreons, I know, are very familiar with it, but we're working on not one but two new podcast-style programs we're going to be premiering, I think, within the next week. One wrestling-related, one non-wrestling-related, so keep following us on social media for that. As we continue our effort to bring you more great superstars and keep wrestling legends working, our Patreon streaming service is on, as we like to say in Boston, fire, where you get early, ad-free access to all four of our weekly in-studio Wrestling Insider Studio Shoot Interview talk shows, access to our world-renowned Studio Shoot Interview DVD library, as seen by millions online and millions more on The Howard Stern Show, exclusive Patreon content, and again, you can take heart in knowing, take heart, it's Valentine's Day weekend, and helping the great veterans and superstars of this sport, not under contract to WWE and AEW, earn a living after going on 11 months of no independent wrestling events, 11 months of no autograph signings, 11 months of no fan fests, all for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks over at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Diehard fans, and you must be a diehard wrestling fan if you're listening to this show, try it for a month and see what you think. And again, life may be quiet at night, especially for us night owls. I know, Dave, you are one that loves to carouse in the evening.
Yes, sir.
But while there are limited options at night nowadays, don't forget the eBay store is open 24/7 around the globe. Get great wrestling collectibles from every era for your man cave. The link is in the description box below. We have tons of great WWE NXT memorabilia on there, some T-shirts, autographed pictures, autographed posters. It is a must. And with the cheap plugs out of the way, and I tried to do it pretty quick this week, I'm now joined by a man, well, we already talked about the dark chocolate. He's going to dive right into it, much like he did down in Tampa. A longtime Boston wrestling associate going all the way back to 2008, Mr. Dave Carter. Dave, welcome to our Mega Thursday night, where we review two big wrestling programs before we party with Marty Jannetty. What a life.
Sure. I'm excited for this. All right, we're going to review NXT first from last night.
All right.
Is that good for you?
You're the boss, kid.
All right, I'm the boss. Let's go. All right, so we kicked it off with MSK coming down to the ring. That's Wesley and Nash Carter versus Legado del Fantasma, which is Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza.
You weren't talking about Wesley Simcoe, were you?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, just making sure.
Maybe he can make a guest appearance sometime.
That's a long commute from the mountains of Vermont, but you never know.
Oh. All right, so the first thing I noticed before the match started was I just looked at Joaquin Wilde. Man, he put on some size. I don't know if you think so. I was looking at him like, wow, he put on some size since he's come over to NXT. He looks a lot bigger than he was when he was DJZ, that's for sure. I love MSK. I think they're very talented. I even liked them in Impact Wrestling, so I was very happy they got scooped up by WWE. It was an athletic match. All four put on a great match. I thought the match was fantastic. A good way to put it going to the finals of it. Wild is so good. He had some sequence of moves that he did that was just so good. I really enjoyed it. MSK, which was the biggest surprise, won by pinfall and is heading to the Dusty Classic Finals. I'm blown away. I didn't think they were going to win, honestly. I didn't think just because they're a new team coming in. I thought it was great, though. Let's say you.
I was surprised by that as well. It shows that WWE must be very high on MSK to put them over into the finals, where I believe they debuted in the opening round of the tournament. Was that not their debut in NXT on TV?
Nope, you're right, because they had one team that wasn't announced, and it was them.
Yeah. So there you go. So that shows they're very high on them. I also agree with what you said about Wild or DJZ. It just shows the professional atmosphere that these guys are working in nowadays. When you go to a world-class organization like WWE, for better or worse, whether you love their creative, whether you hate their creative, it is a world-class company. The accessibility that these young athletes have to the Performance Center, especially pre-coronavirus times, it's amazing. I mean, when you look at what independent wrestlers have access to, it can vary from almost wrestler to wrestler as far as where they go to train, what kind of gym they can afford to go to. At the WWE Performance Center, it's first class all the way. I continue to say, though, that Wild is miscast as Wild. I would revert him back to DJZ, even if WWE can't own it. I think more fans would enjoy it, and I think WWE would get more value out of the man, Michael Paris. I don't know if I mentioned it last episode, but he just had a baby, so good for him. He's a good guy. We tried to book him a couple of times on Boston Wrestling MWF live events, but one time he was injured, another time when he was with TNA Impact, they needed him, and it just never happened. Hopefully somewhere down the road, because he's a really good guy, and he's very enjoyable to watch in the squared circle. On to the finals we go with the Dusty Classic Men's Tag Team Title Tournament.
Yes, sir. All right. And then from there, we got a promo package for Mercedes Martinez about Sunday Vengeance facing Io Shirai for the NXT Women's title. I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a big one.
Okay, I knew that was it. So then we went to the women's match. We had Xia Li versus Corey. I will say one thing. Xia Li has gotten in such good shape since she's debuted in NXT. Wow, she looks unbelievable. She looks really, really good. I really like her, too. I think she's actually really good in the ring. I don't know. I know you probably have other things to say about it. But Caden and Casey were outside the ring the whole time. I didn't really understand why. It was a quick match, basically a squash match, because Xia Li wins by pinfall. Caden basically went up to I don't know the Japanese guy's name. I have no idea. I don't know if you do. And just basically was asked, Caden was talking to Xia, basically asking her what's wrong with her and everything like that.
Do you mean Boa?
Yeah, no, but the other guy, not Boa. Remember the guy sitting in the chair?
Oh, you don't know his name?
No, what was his name?
That guy.
Oh, there you go. That guy. All right, that works for me. I love it. Basically, Xia walks up the ramp, slams her off, like throws her outside the ramp, gets her out of there, starts speaking Chinese to some guy. What I put the guy in the chair. I had no idea. If you fans know, comment on on it for us so we know, because I haven't seen his name. I know Boa. Then he grabs Boa by the throat, the guy, and starts screaming at him, and it went on from there. So I don't know what you think about all that. I know women wrestling isn't your thing really, but how did you feel about it?
It's taken something I really wouldn't have a lot of interest in, and it's made it at least a little bit more interesting with whatever this mystery might be. And I'm sure it'll be slowly revealed as time goes on with the pace they go in NXT. Is it anything I'd go out of my way to watch if I wasn't already watching it? No, but like I said, it would probably just be your standard fair women's match. It added a little intrigue to it with all these other people involved.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it. All right, then when we came back, we got Regal backstage interview. Basically, while he's talking, it shows Scarlett on his desk in his office. Basically, he walks in because they didn't really hear what he was saying to, backstage until he went into the office and asked her, "Can he help her?" And if he comes, it won't be good. That's basically what she said to him. Escobar, time is up. Next week, Regal repeats it and says, we're going to have the match next week, which I don't really like, because why does Scarlett get to make the match and he just goes with it? I didn't really like it. I thought it should be more than that. I don't know what you feel about it, but I thought it needed to be a little more, because why does she get to make the match and he just goes with it? You know, I don't know.
She is welcome to come sit on my desk at any time.
Absolutely. That, yes, but, you know, would you give her the reins to MWF, though?
No.
Okay,
She'd have to do more than sit on the desk. But
all right.
I mean, you look at it almost as if she was issuing a challenge or pitching it? I don't know. I mean, you never want to castrate your authority figures, and one thing they've done a pretty good job of with Regal is making him feel like he is the man of power in that organization.
Exactly. Yep. From there, we got a lot of this now. This was the double thing. I couldn't believe that shit. First, before they went to commercial, we had Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, and Austin Theory backstage pushing Gargano in a wheelchair. Then when they came back to the ring, they came out, coming down to the ring, it was the same group in the ring. They're basically talking about Kishida attacking him, injuring him. They showed an x-ray on the screen and everything. It basically says he has 4 fractures in his arm, all this garbage, you know what I mean? And
you worded it right.
Yeah, there you go. And basically can't defend his title this Sunday. Regal came out and says, you've been cleared by the NXT doctors. Gargano doesn't trust the doctors, I guess. Thinks Regal should suspend Kishida. Basically, from there, Gargano is talking. Regal goes, why don't you ask Kishida basically for yourself? But I never even noticed Kishida in the ring until the very end. I don't know how I missed it, but I thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, oh my God. I don't know what I was doing, if I was just looking at Gargano talk or something, but I thought it was kind of funny because he was in the ring, and as soon as they turned around, he was in there. They started brawling all over him. I don't know how you felt about the whole segment. Probably too much, just like me, but
they should change the name of the faction to This Isn't the Way, because it's just a horrible portrayal of Johnny Gargano, who was ultra over as a babyface, world-class professional wrestler. You can say what you want. Maybe he's hit his peak in what he's done in NXT. Maybe he will not be a main roster success due to his size, which could handicap him a little bit on Raw or SmackDown. I don't know. We have to wait until that day actually comes, but this portrayal sucks. It's not fun. It's not funny. It's just stupid. It makes him look like an idiot. I have no interest in the wife. And again, I've mentioned before, I think Austin Theory is someone they could potentially groom into not just a top spot on one of the main brands, but he's got the look of a guy that could be a WrestleMania main eventer. Granted, maybe he looks a little bit bigger on NXT TV than he would on the main brands as far as his height goes, but you know what? There isn't a lot of size within that company right now. You got to work with what you got. Why handicap the guy by putting him around foolish comedy that is not fun nor funny? But it felt like a Raw segment more than an NXT segment.
Right, I can see that. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I didn't care for it too much either. From there, we ended up going right into a match. Like I said, it was a big, long segment of all of them involved. It went Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell versus Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. I like Ember a lot. I think I see a lot of potential in her. She was on the main roster for a little bit. Now she's
we
back.
know why you like Ember.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
You don't want the moon.
Yes, sir. Match was pretty good. It was very long, though.
Very. That was in my notes. Very long.
Yes. Shotzi's pretty good, too. I think I see potential in her. I don't know about this gimmick, but I do see potential in her. They seem to love her, though. She was, the sponsor of the Halloween Heavy. They do a lot with her, so maybe they do see.
I'm not sure if it was with you or with Socko, but I said I think once she hits the main roster, she'll be very over for a little while, and then she's going to be the flavor of the month, like Otis or Eugene or Zach Gowen, and then they'll overpush her, and then there'll be no interest in her.
Okay.
But I think right off the bat, where she's got the unique look, she's got her little tank. I think the fans on either Raw or SmackDown will have fun with it once she's on one of the national shows. But you know how WWE does it. Once they see the fans like something, they just continue to not just shove it, but they shovel it down your throat until you never want to see it again. I mean, look at Otis. Look at the position he was in earlier in, midway through 2020, and look at him now.
Right, exactly. Oh, I know. Now he's doing that. Well, go ahead. You can do your voice.
Yeah, I don't get tuck off.
Exactly.
Taka. Oh, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
got Mandy. Oh, no. Oh, no.
All right. So, but Shotzi
Life
Black,
is lonely for Otis.
yes,
For
sir.
Halloween, not for Halloween, for Valentine's Day, they could play Owner of a Lonely Heart from back in the 80s for
There you
poor
go.
Otis right now. But
You
I don't
should
want
have
to
that.
give them any ideas. I should stop.
It's good. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon won the match by pinfall. Basically, they announced after that whoever wins the finals is going to get a future title shot for the tag team titles for the women's in WWE. I know you probably don't care about that, but I want to throw that in there. From
It
there,
just
we
makes it that much bigger.
exactly. There you go. We got a Thatcher Ciampa promo about the upcoming match. And then we had Escobar gets asked about the match next week and doesn't really care about it, like he's whatever to him. And then his two lackeys, which was Joaquin Wilde and Raul Menendez, come up, basically talk some stuff. I don't know if you have anything to say about
He
those
acted like he had Farouk and Bradshaw to, to go,
exactly. Right.
go after Karrion Kross. I thought that was a little much, but
Right. And then we got a great match. I love this match. Kushida versus Austin Theory. I was so happy that they did this match last night. Two of the best in NXT for sure. And like we said already, Austin Theory has a lot of potential. You even said he could be a future main eventer if they do him right.
I believe so.
I love Kushida too. It was a great match. Both have like I said, so much potential. Basically, Kushida and Theory are in an armbar, but then all of a sudden he gets super kicked by Kushida at the end in a DQ. They both started. Sorry, I have my notes.
You need to have better penmanship.
Yeah, I know, right? I wrote it backwards. Someone under the ring started grabbing what's his name, Austin Theory's leg, basically pulling him under. It ends up being Dexter Lumis coming out, which I thought was really cool. I love how they're using him so much because I like him a lot. Basically, Kushida ends up putting Gargano in a submission move in the ring. They both get in the ring, and that's how it goes off. I don't know. Did you like how they did that whole thing set up for it, or?
I thought the match itself was very good. I already told you what I think about anything to do with the comedic heel Gargano. It almost seems like Lumis is morphing into a modern-day boogeyman. Coming from under the ring and grabbing. Right? And, age-wise, I'm not quite sure how old he is, but, Boogie was a little long in the tooth when he came into WWE as well. I actually look forward to the wrestling match presentation of Kushida and Gargano on Sunday, as long as they just keep the comedy bullshit out of it.
Right, exactly.
It could be, one of the better matches you see this year on paper. We'll see. And that's a good thing.
Right on. Yeah, absolutely. Then we came back. We got Wilde and Mendoza laid out on the ground. Cross told Esquire, be ready for next week. So I guess he must have attacked them, but we didn't get to see it.
Well, they only have 2 hours, I guess.
All right, there you go. Then we got your boy, Cameron Grimes. Shows up. I can't wait for you to talk about this, but I got to go over real quick. So Cameron Grimes shows up in this big white fancy car with stacks of money. Basically comes out, starts going crazy about he's got, I just put it was a funny promo. He played video games. He went into GameStop. He realized this was potential. He bought stock in GameStop, and that's how he made all his money. Basically, Regal can kiss his grits or whatever he was saying and starts swimming in his money in the ring. It got real awkward at the end, too, the whole thing. I felt like almost like somebody was supposed to interrupt him, but they didn't because he was just going so nuts. I don't know what you thought about the whole segment. You go ahead.
Well, it was a pretty simple way to sum it up. It sucked, but I don't think it's fun. I don't think it's funny to have a guy come out portrayed as an idiot. I think it makes William Regal look like an idiot that he would allow this guy to just show up after however long he's been off of television, just throwing cash around. I mean, you have to realize, you have to overlook the lack of common sense in wrestling sometimes because it is professional wrestling, but just don't throw it in your face that it has to be this stupid. If it was maybe a vignette as opposed to an in-ring thing, maybe I just would have shrugged my shoulders, but I thought this was extremely bad. There are some fans that do want comedy wrestling, and I'm sure they enjoyed several of the segments on the show, if they do. But for those of us that enjoy, a more athletic approach, more drama, more violence, more action, this comes across as very weak to me. I have no idea where they go with Cameron Grimes, the man that won money in the stock market, nor do I really care to see it.
Exactly. All right, so then we got Gargano. Basically, real quick, just says the match with Kishida this Sunday is happening, and then it led to the main event, which was the Grizzly Young Vets, which is James Drake and Zach Gibson versus Thatcher and Ciampa. All four are fantastic workers. I want to get that right out of the way. It was a great match, lots of action, hard hitting. That's what you get with these guys. So you get a lot of hard hitting in this. So I'm guessing you loved it. There was a lot of super holds, good submission moves. I love that they did the Doomsday Device. I don't know if you thought that was good, but I really enjoyed that. I thought that was kind of cool them throwing that in there. And what surprised me was the finish. Grizzly Young Vets getting the pinfall and advancing to the finals. I thought it was really cool that they did, but I didn't expect that just because they've been riding Thatcher and Ciampa. And so we're going to get Grizzly Young Vets versus MSK for the Dusty Finals. What did you think of that? And then I have one more thing to say, but I want you to go over that first, the match.
I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I considered it an upset. I thought they would go with, even though Thatcher and Tommaso, they're really not defined much in either way as far as heel babyface goes. So I could see them working with MSK in the finals of the tournament, but that wasn't the way they decided to go. I could see, and I tell you, I enjoy watching them, but as far as the actual execution of the name, the Grizzled Young Veterans, I just, it's almost like, again, you're trying to present two people that have great athletic ability as two morons. And what value do you get out of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, because, like you said, the name is just like, I think they could have been very, what's the word? More creative. You know what I mean? With it, what are you going to do? And then the other.
So now they go to the finals for 2 years in a row.
Right on.
So I think they're going to turn into the Susan Lucci of NXT.
Uh-oh. The one other thing that I had is at the very end, they showed the actual people in all the matches. What did you think about that? That was different. I don't know how I felt about it. You know what I mean? At the end where they showed each match, the guys face off. What did you think?
What I did like was having the three announcers standing in front of the ring. That was reminiscent of like the old Monday Night Raw from 93 and 94. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as those various interactions face-to-face with random referees trying to break them up, I might have to see something like that a couple of times to get used to it. It was obviously new. And you know what? Why not try something new? I didn't think, I wouldn't say it was bad, but I wouldn't exactly give it 2 thumbs up like Siskel and Ebert. Just a little something new.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought it was just something like different. I didn't know how I felt about it. Like you said, I have to see it a few times before I actually give it a real thought on it.
Hopefully they limit it to just one show.
There you go. That was NXT. My grade for it, I'm going to give you the big grade first. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a really, good show. Wrestling-wise, like we said, one of the women's matches was very long, but there wasn't too much of it. Like we said, Gargano shouldn't be funny, but I'm not going to knock it because of that. I still think it was a really good show. I enjoyed it. We got some good upsets that we didn't think. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
I go just a little lower than you with a 6, because I just thought there was too much comedy in that the female Dusty Classic match. It felt like it went on for eternity. There were a lot of video packages in this one. It wasn't the most wrestling-orientated program you'll ever see, but I thought the 2 men's tag team matches were very good, and Kishida in Theory as well. I liked it a lot. So what was good on the show is very good. The things you rolled your eyes at, it was almost like the eyes were going to be stuck in the back of your head. But you know what? You're not going to hit a home run every week. In Major League Baseball, you're not going to win 162 games. Every episode is not going to be perfect.
I can't deny that.
I wasn't itching to change the channel, so I would call it watchable.
There you go. All right, we both pretty much agree on the same show. That was NXT. What do you got?
Wrestling fans, right now, we'll take a brief time out. We come back. We'll break down what was AEW Dynamite, just about 3 hours north up in Jacksonville, Florida at Daly's Place. Stand by. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. Bundle up as we continue this double feature tonight where we discuss NXT and AEW, and then at 10 o'clock, joined by the man himself, future WWE Hall of Famer Marty Jannetty. Dave, we now head up to Daly's Place, the little amphitheater where it's a little chilly, even at night in Jacksonville, Florida. It might be Florida, but you know what? It's still February to be wrestling in a half-outdoor venue. I can't imagine is the most comfortable for those that only wear tights, but that's just my opinion. I've never done it.
No, I hear you. I haven't either, but I'm guessing the same exact thing as you. So we kicked it off with the TNT title match, which was the returning Joey Janela versus Darby Allin. I'm not a huge fan of Janela. I think I would be if he got more in shape. I feel like he almost looks like if I turn on that TV and I see him in the ring and I didn't watch, I'd be like, what the hell is this? He just looks like you're a regular guy. I don't know. That's me. I think he does too much talking too. Darby is pretty good. I see a lot of potential in him. He's small, but he's got a gimmick and it's a little different and I kind of like it. It was a decent match. From there, the ref, did you notice the ref in this match counting really slow? I don't know. I didn't notice that. I did. If you go back and watch some of those counts, some of them weren't, but some of them were just really, really slow. Like it didn't flow right like a normal referee. I don't know. I pointed that out. Darby Allin retained the title by pinfall. What did you think? What do you think of Joey Janela too? I don't think we've ever talked about him.
I think he's got a lot of charisma to make up for what he lacks in the physical presentation. Like you said, I mean, could he be in better shape? Could he tan? Sure. But I mean, is that part of what he's looking for to be? Someone that is the opposite of the standard, typical athlete that you see on a show like that? I haven't sat down and had a conversation with the man about it, so I don't know. But I think his charisma makes him stand out a little bit more. I think to the naked eye, if you were to see him, like you said, out of the blue, you'd think almost like an enhancement guy from the 70s through the 90s on the WWF syndicated shows. Right. There isn't much of a physical presentation, but, he does have that unique personality. He's kind of a colorful character, so it's not a complete negative, but there are things I could do to, if I was a coach, so to speak, to make him have more value to himself, Yeah,
I mean, I can't disagree with that. I don't know. For me, I feel like if you're going to do the part, you got to look the part somewhat. He just doesn't. He looks like a pile of trash. I'm going to be admitted.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I'll go that far because you know what? Because if you're going to kick, I don't know. For me, if you're doing this, you got to look good somewhat. Like, I don't know. That's the way I feel about these guys. Just like when we're talking about some returns to the ring. When you know you're coming back, get in shape. But I don't know. That's me. From there, we got Moxley.
Well, I'll say this. I thought it was obviously the right finish to build up Darby headed into the pay-per-view. So, Janela has a little bit more name value and credibility than a lot of the guys that stand around the ring during Dynamite each week.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean,
I'll give him that much.
There you go. We had a Moxley promo after that, basically talking about the match tonight and his future match, hyping it up, teaming with Lance Hoyt, who he's had problems with in the past. A little promo. I don't know. Do you like these kind of little promos that they do like this when they're not live? They're just...
I do. I like them much more than actually.
Okay. From there, we got the big Inner Circle segment, which was Sammy backstage in the locker room, basically asking everyone to leave. And it left MJF and Sammy in the locker room. Thinks MJF is basically trying to be the new leader of the Inner Circle, take over the whole thing. Says that's not at all. Thinks Sammy hates Jericho. And basically, this was actually kind of funny. I like this. Basically, he wanted Sammy to say it. When Sammy was saying it, all of a sudden, you see MJF have a little phone. He's like, are you taping this convo? Sammy rips it out of his hand, throws it against him, hits him in the ribs, and, slaps him in the ribs, I should say, and then leaves MJF laying there. I don't know. This is building to a feud there. I don't know where they're going to go with this. I'm not going to lie. I think Sammy is getting a lot better at first I didn't really believe him, but I think he's putting on a little bit of size now. He's doing better promos, I should say. I'm kind of believing him. It's good. I like it.
I think this is going to lead to a match between the two of them on the next pay-per-view for the, because you know how they have overpushed and have rushed so quickly through this storyline with so many people. But I think it'll lead to a match between the two of them on the pay-per-view, battling for Jericho's affections or something along those lines.
What do you think of Sammy, though?
I think he's very good. I thought he was very good from day one.
All right.
I think, I'm not sure how old he is. I don't know if there's room for him to...
Getting with. It's sometimes I think he tries to, but now he's looking... He honestly is if you look at him from the beginning to now, he's actually putting on a little bit of size. He's doing, I think his promo's a little more believable. So he's grown on me, is what I was trying to get at. From there, we had Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson with Arn Anderson versus Peter Avalon and Cesar Bononi. We had Arn Anderson's son was ringside. It was a good match. Cody looks great, huh? He put on some size. Wow,
Yeah.
He looked really good. Why couldn't he do it in WWE, right? Caesar is a big dude. I think WWE, NXT missed the boat on him. Lee Johnson's really good. Skinny, but he's really good. He's really talented in the ring. Johnson rolled up Avalon for the win. And then we had Dustin and Cutie come out for to basically, give him a current congratulations to Cody and stuff. Tony Schiavone was interviewing Johnson and says he's been training with the Rhodes family and he loves that they took him out into the ring because he's been 0-29 last year or something like that. They said.
Oh, really? Was that what it was?
Yeah, that's what they said. 0-29 for last year for his wins losses. How do you feel about the match? Do you think Arn Anderson something to it?
I thought they had a cameo with the guy that was the logo on brawny paper towels when they showed him the first time. But no, I mean, I could see him being Arn Anderson's son, sure.
Right.
If he's looking to break into the King of Sports, good for him. I thought there was some good and bad you could take away from this. Why you'd put Cody in a match with two enhancement talents at best. And make it such a 50-50. I mean, Peter Avalon is an embarrassment. I don't know why you'd even put him on television. Bonani, to me, that's just a green talent that needs more experience and more, training under his belt. A lot of potential, absolutely. A guy with that kind of size, you just don't dismiss. Johnson is another one. I tell you this, he might not be the biggest dog in the fight, but he's someone that I think has potential to be a cruiserweight type and be a standout at it. They really attempted to build the win up as something big, but I mean, look at who it was that they defeated. You know what I mean?
Right on. Yeah, no, I know what you mean exactly.
But applaud what you will. QT ran out and not Goldust. Dustin ran out, and you think with the way they were trying to build up Lee Johnson, they were going to have the ships down in Tampa circle all the way down south around Miami and go up north to Jacksonville and have Tom Brady and Gronk wave to them. But,
Jesus.
They attempted to get him over, I guess is a good way to put it. I thought it was a little much for Cody to sell so much for either one of them.
Right on that. Yeah, I was looking at this too. I was just like, but AEW is trying to do that to get people over. They probably think
that should have been a 5-minute squash match.
Yes, sir. From there, we had an interview with the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers. I called it a big joke promo because they're not taking anything serious, which I don't like. I don't like it at all. They're talking about how they have coming up shows for both the pay-per-views for Impact and AEW. Next week, they're going to face Santana and Ortiz for the AEW tag titles. But I don't like the joke stuff. Like you said, funny isn't always money and it's not always right. And this was just a big joke promo. And like, when I watch wrestling, I want to see some real stuff, take me out of the joke world that I, sometimes and put me in somewhere else. And I don't like it. I didn't dig it. What did you?
No, I guess is the best way to put it. No, I think Gallows and Anderson have it in them to be vicious individuals.
Yeah.
The Young Bucks, when they try and be the 2006 version of DX, they kind of lose me too. There is their, they make Shawn look like Undertaker height, but it is what it is. They prefer that comedic style. When they get fired up and they do try and act like tough guys. I don't necessarily believe that either, but I guess the presentation wouldn't be one that came from my pencil. And I think Gallows and Anderson, when they start acting like goofs, hey, Sting, come too sweet me, or whatever it was they said at the end of it.
Yep.
Just not for me.
No.
I
not
think
at
there
all.
was a much better way to do it, and it wasn't that.
Yep, I totally agree. From there, we got another promo. Back, I guess it was a tape segment. Hangman Adam Page and Big Money Matt are back. Backstage. Matt wants to take Adam out. Basically, rented a whole bar out for him to get drinks and just talk. And then, as Adam's walking out, he gets confronted by the Dark Order. And I don't know how you feel about the Dark.
For whatever reason, it reminded me of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs for some reason when he walked out of that door and had all of those misfits and miscasts just standing there disappointed that he was going to go have a drink with Big Money Matt. What's that?
You don't like the first guy. I don't even know his name. The one with the bald head, the one's got the big
I don't know
arm.
any of them. I know the one's in a mask. He's numero uno, right?
Yeah, yep.
Is that what it is? Or something uno?
Yeah, Uno 1 or something.
After that, Evil Uno.
Some of this, like I said, some of AEW, and it's not that I don't watch because I watch every week. They lose me, so I stop paying attention to the names. And I'm sorry, fans or whatever, if you guys are listening, some of the stuff is just so repetitive and over that I can't take it. From there, we got Pac versus Ryan Nemeth, which is the brother of Dolph Ziggler, which is crazy because he has the blonde hair now, too. He didn't always have that. Pac is great. He looks fantastic. He's a great worker. I think WWE missed the boat on him for sure. Pac dominated the match the whole time. It was a quick match. Pac won by submission. What do you think? Anything about it? Or
Well, it certainly wasn't Dolph that was in there, I guess is a fair statement to make. For him to be not given the opportunity at a good spot in WWE after going through their developmental system where Dolph is such a tenured guy in the company, I guess, to me, that says it all.
there you go. And then we got another promo from the wedding last week. We got Kip and Penelope backstage, basically very mad about what happened last week during the wedding. Chuck Taylor's going to get what he's coming to him, Myro said, the best man or whatever he calls himself. I don't know. These are too many promos. This show has too many. Anything to say about it?
At least it was short.
Yeah, there you go. Then we got another thing. In a circle backstage, Jericho, Hager, and Wardlow, they get interrupted by Santana Ortiz and MJF, basically saying, did you see what Sammy did to him? And basically they started heading to the ring because the music started playing. I don't know if you want to go over that or you want me to just go right into the match?
No, he was in a state of shock. He couldn't believe it. I guess he was the only person in the building that didn't know.
Yeah, there you go. We got Chris Jericho versus MJF, which I love the team. I do like the teaming of them because I think they work great together. Versus the Acclaim, which is Anthony Dumas and Max Caster. They wrap down the ring.
Anthony Bowens.
Yeah, Anthony. What I call him? Anthony
I have no idea what you just
Bowens.
said.
I called him Bowens. Sorry, Bowens.
Oh, you're going by your handwriting. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, my bad, guys. They wrap coming down to the ring. MJF is really selling the ribs during the match. Acclaim's pretty good. I like you said. I think we said this last week. They're like the Street Profits almost. I think Jericho and MJF, like I was saying, they work really well together. They feed off each other. But you got it because Jericho's such a veteran. He can lead MJF. I think. I love their pairing.
Yeah, I just think it should play out longer than it's going to.
I love the cheating tactics in this. You know how they were, Jericho was outside the ring and he's grabbing MJF's hands. You know, you don't see that anymore in wrestling. I really thought that was good. Hager gets involved. Lets Jericho hit the Judas effect after he gets involved. I love that move. I don't know how you feel about it. I actually kind of really like it. Jericho and MJF win the match. Sammy comes out, confronts Jericho, isn't happy with the Inner Circle, and quits. That was the whole thing. It's like a match into another promo. I don't know, man. It's just too much.
They try, one of the faults that I find in that program is that they try and rush almost everything. And they try and fit almost every human being they have under contract on the show each week, which leads to a lot of overbooked segments sometimes. And this was one of them. I think the Acclaim as a team has a lot of potential. I like the little rap gimmick when he comes out. You know, maybe borrowing a little from John Cena back in 2002 and 2003, whatever it may be. Bowens is someone that we had a lot of interest in and talked to about coming in to appear at our events before. So obviously, I'm high on him. I think they're a great team. I'd like to just book the undercard guys in AEW. I think so many of them have so much potential. As far as the match here goes, it wasn't all that bad. To me, they both came across as heel teams. Is Acclaim supposed to be presented as heels?
Yeah, see, I don't know either. I'm guessing
It's not well defined either way.
Right. I'm guessing the faces were supposed to be the Acclaim though, because MJF and Chris Jericho, but I'm not sure. Like you said, they haven't really showed us which one to be yet.
Well, you know what they say. Sometimes the smallest details are the most important ones. And as far as the quitting goes, I just, I said it on, I think, the last episode. They just built this up as they were going to be this big happy unit back in a couple of weeks before Christmas time. And then all they've done is fight and argue with each other ever since. So they've played the whole scenario out too quick. If they waited a little bit longer, if they let them be this united front for 6 months or a year, where they did these dastardly things and injured people and took no prisoners, then that would be one thing. But for them to go through this much material now in less than 2 months, I think it's way too much, way too quick, and it's not as effective that way.
Okay, and then from there we got a lot of segments that happened here. No matches. We had Sammy Shown leaving backstage. He's leaving, going through the doors, and they said basically he needs to take time from this place. I don't know what that means, but we'll see. I don't know if it means he's gone for a month, 2 months, 1 week. We'll see. And then we get Matt Hardy and Adam Page drinking at the bar. Remember, he rented out the whole bar.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Matt knows he doesn't want to be a tag team wrestler, meaning Adam. He knows Adam doesn't want to be the tag team wrestler. So he presents him with a contract saying he can make him millions of dollars and he gets 30% of it, basically because Adam Page is supposed to be playing off that he's drunk. Adam supposedly signs it. I don't know, the segment. I'm not digging this. Adam Page doesn't need to be anywhere near this, but no. What do you? Anything?
Well, same thing with Dark Order. I mean, why would you try and attach him to them? And the same thing with the past your prime Matt Hardy. How many personality changes has he gone through in 6 months? And now all of a sudden he's this $1 billion sports agent. I mean, where did this come from all of a sudden? You take a guy, $1 million talent like Page, and then you just, it's almost like having him try to swim with an anchor around his ankle, and it's not a good thing. I've said before, I think there are several guys AEW has done a better job with than WWE. I think Adam Page, looking at what's gone on outside of the first few events this company had, I think he would have been better off signing with WWE and trying his chances there based upon what he's done.
Yep, I do too. That's why I'm hoping when his contract's up, finally he'll make the right decision if they don't start using him properly, because that's a lot of talent right there that just isn't being used.
Yeah.
From there, we had another promo. Well, Tony Schiavone was introducing Sting. Sting comes walking out, and actually this time he doesn't really get to say much because Taz gets on the screen that they show, and it shows Darby Allin in a body bag, and he's tied to the vehicle. They drag him away. So we never really got a Sting promo this week, which was, I guess, a little different than last week because it's always the same thing. A Sting promo never does anything but says the same stuff. What did you think about this? Did you like the body bag effect or what?
It reminded me of Nitro an awful lot, where it just seems like Sting just comes out every week, and then whether they're on the stage or whether they're in a parking lot or somewhere in the locker room, you have the NWO faction, with it now in 2021 being Taz's. Why keep doing the same thing every week? You could say it was a little different, where they had the unbelievable angle of putting Darby in the body bag and running off with them, which would kill the man within seconds if it was reality. But, again, look at the context of what we're watching. It also kind of reminded me, remember when Undertaker did that to Hogan on the motorcycle back in 2002?
Yep.
When he ran around the locker room with Hogan attached to the bike, obviously it was something with wheels under his back. But I just, if the people aren't going to look at it as if it could actually happen, I throw my hands up and roll my eyes, I guess.
Right on, exactly.
It was bad. I guess maybe it was an attempt to do something different than what has been done every week now for what feels like months, which is that same interview over and over again.
Right, and that's exactly, yeah. And then we got another promo, which was at a golf course. It was Kenny Omega at the golf course. He takes a shot, then talks about his match tonight. says he's the best of all time. Clearing his head is why he's playing golf. It makes him clear his head, I guess. I don't know. He forgets how to lose, he also says. And basically, after the shot goes in, he gives the ball to, I guess his name's Marquez, the interviewer.
Yeah.
From there, I don't know. I'm over the promos by now. They're losing me as a fan.
I don't think they needed that with him actually working the main event. That could have been maybe something on YouTube they could have played during the week, or maybe,
Right.
I don't even remember if he had a match the week before, but maybe that could have been a way to.
Yeah, he did the 6-way. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. How could I forget? Maybe that could have been a social media skit of some kind, but
Right on. So then we got your favorite match of the night, obviously. Kayla Hurst versus Thunder Rosa. This match was, again, I always say it, and it's true, it was too long. Oh my God. This was like a 25-minute match, Dan. I'm not lying. I couldn't believe it. And, honestly, it was Thunder Rosa pretty much the whole match. I was like, enough. I thought it was seriously, when they did a couple near falls, I thought it was really over just because I'm like, I couldn't believe they were going this long. Thunder Rosa won the match. She advances in the tournament. What about you?
just way too long. I have a feeling that this tournament is going to drain the patience I have for it, as much as there's going to be quality in the ring. At least, if you wanted to find something positive out of it, they announced that the Japanese side is going to take place on Monday night online.
There you go.
So
Sorry,
to sit through, I don't know how many of those Japanese matches where the fans aren't familiar with anyone,
right?
For weeks on end. I mean, I don't think that would have done them any favors. So I think that whoever came up with that idea, that was a smart idea. As far as this one goes, it was long and it wasn't very good. I don't know if Hirsch has a touch of dwarfism, but she's not the biggest dog in the fight. It's just I don't know what they got out of it. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what segment it went against on the other show. Maybe Kishida in theory, but I think there was a higher quality on the USA Network.
Yep. I don't know. And then we got another backstage segment, which was Marco Stunt and Tony getting interviewed. Basically talks about his match a couple weeks ago against Dax. It basically turned him out to be a different man because he ended up, if anybody doesn't remember, he beat Dax, which I don't think he should have ever done. Basically, next week he's going to make Dax his bitch. I don't know. That's what he was. It was a short little promo, little interview thing. What do you think?
Well, I think with the Jungle Boy, they almost need like a bicycle or a basketball pump. And just need to put it into some orifice just to try and fill him in a little bit. It was almost like that. You see that Matthew McConaughey commercial during the Super Bowl when he was, he's a little on the thin side.
Yeah.
And not a lot of personality shown here. It was a very bland, kind of like a dry rice cake. So
and just quick.
Is it going to get me excited to see what happens next week? No. Would the match itself actually be pretty good? Most likely.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that. It will be a good match. I mean, Tony
Schiavone's a man on the move. I mean, the broadcast booth, he's in the ring, he's in the back, he's everywhere. No wonder why his back's hurting him so much.
There you go. And then we finally, after all these promos, we got to the main event, which was a Falls Count Anywhere, no DQ match, which was Kenta and Kenny Omega versus Moxley and Lance Archer. All four good workers, so you knew it was going to be a good match. I love Archer. I really do. I think he's fantastic. Tons of weapons involved. Omega took some brutal back bumps onto the ladder. Whew, he was beat up. I seen his back after that. It was pretty bad. They fought all over the arena. My favorite part was when they were in the kitchen with the potatoes. I thought that was like, come on. Remember, did you see that with the box potatoes thrown? Then Moxley's holding one, using it as a weapon. I don't know. Jake Roberts even got involved a little bit. He threw a punch. You seen that, right?
I did.
Good Brothers got involved too and attacked Archer. Kenny Omega pinned Archer to win the match. It was a decent match. I mean, it is what it is. What can you really talk about Falls Count Anywhere? It's pretty simple. They go all over the ring. You knew that was going to happen. What about you?
It wouldn't have been the way I would have debuted Kenter in an actual match. You bring in this world elite athlete the week before as a big surprise, and then you put him in almost half of which was, a dog and pony show, comedy routines, running around kitchens with potatoes and nonsense like that. I mean,
Yep.
it's fun to laugh at, okay, but how effective is it going to be when it comes time for them to try and sell tickets to audiences once they're able to allow fans in again, and when it comes to pay-per-view buys? Is that who
Exactly.
you want on the top of your cards? Is the guy that was running around a kitchen throwing
And like you
vegetables
said,
and
presenting Kenta like that, if you have someone turn on the program, they just see that. They don't actually get to see this guy work yet, so they don't know what he is, what he has the potential of. And like you said, a world-known athlete, he doesn't get to show it in this match. I don't know.
I like that he kind of gave himself a different look from his NXT stint, which was a complete and utter failure. I don't know how WWE missed the boat on that. Again, I don't know the full details. It could be just as much Kenta's fault as it was WWE's, but you'd think
If
with
you
a
remember,
guy with that much talent.
if you remember though, he was always hurt there too.
There were a lot of injuries, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
So,
the purple hair will help him.
yeah, there you go. That was AEW.
But then Jake, oh my God.
You didn't like that.
I
I just didn't let you say anything because I just figured you were done with that. But there you go.
No, that shouldn't be happening at this point.
Right.
And
That's
personally, I don't like the man because of some of the shenanigans that went on with some of our live events, even down the street at Memorial Hall, where we was still slated to be part of our Back to the 80s event. Once venues of that size can open up again, we've been having some great talks with Memorial Hall this week about the event in question. But as far as Jake bumping around, it wasn't pretty, especially if he's having breathing problems, as he said in a recent interview, due to a life of smoking cigarettes. So I don't know if at Jake's age, if he's having oxygen problems, if he should be bumping around, but I guess that's just one man's opinion.
Oh, I laughed at it a lot. I figured you would really enjoy that, but I guess exactly.
I enjoyed it and I cringed at it at the same time, I guess.
Right,
Is the
just because
best
I know
way.
you like seeing the workers come, and I give you saying yeah.
If
But
they
that was
left it's just the attempt at the short arm clothesline, that would have been kind of fun. But I don't want to. Do you really want to see him trying to bump?
no, not at all. Not at his age, definitely not.
I was waiting for Kenta to hit him with the finish. The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington, Tuesday, February the 11th, 1986. It was WWF's debut in Tacoma. In the opening contest, CV Afi beat Rene Goulet. Hercules with the win over S.D. Jones. Adrian Adonis defeated George Wells. Cousin Luke victorious over Mr. X. Corporal Kirchner and Dan Spivey beat Nikolai Volkov in the Iron Sheik. Junkyard Dog with the win over Terry Funk. And in the main event, the WWF Intercontinental Champion Macho Man Randy Savage retained the title over George the Animal Steele via countout. If you were in Tacoma live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep wrestling legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view, watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.